Hello and welcome to Magical Maiden's Jewelry Tutorials. I'm Magical Maiden. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a lariat type of necklace, but also a choker combined. So it's going to be a double necklace, a choker with a regular lariat necklace. Now I've already had this made. This was from an older necklace that I had. I usually recycle my jewelry because I do a lot of jewelry tutorials and I don't always get the time to constantly wear all the jewelry I make. I used to do giveaways, but things got expensive to mail out and ship to everybody. So now I just, if I'm not wearing it anymore, I recycle it because we all know supplies have gotten more expensive. So why not? So this was already made and I just had to alter it a little. And it's a choker. And typically chokers are 16 inches around, but you can go like 16 and a half to 17, depending on the width of your neck. Because you don't want to make, if you have a thicker neck or, a chubby neck, you do not want to have that skin tight because it's going to make you not look good. And you're wearing something to look good. So make it a little bit bigger. It'll still be a choker on you, but it's because if your neck is thicker or bigger, but if you have a smaller neck like I do, then you can go ahead and do the 16-inch. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, since the choker part's already been made, what I'm going to show you is that, as you can see over here, what I did was I got in wire. Actually, what I did get was I got a head pin and then I made loops. So this is what head pins look like. This is what an eye pin looks like. An eye pin has a loop at the end. A head pin is straight with a little pin head. Or you can use wire. So I'm just going to take one of these. Now I have a shorter one. And I have different colors and sizes because you can use, like I said, wire if you want to. And as you can see in here, there was a head pin, and then I looped this side and put 2 beads and looped the other side, then connected it with a 6mm jump ring. Okay, and you can use any size jump ring you want. I used the 6mm. Okay, I always keep 4 and 6mm jump rings on hand, but it's also good to get a package like this with different sizes. This used to be full, and you can get I think I got this from either BB Crafts or Panda Hall. It's always good to have a multi-size, multicolored jump ring. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside, and I've looked through all my beads to see any black beads that I might want to use for this project, and I have got quite a few, and I'm going to start making them now. You do not have one of these bead holder when you're making necklaces, then you should get it. I got a little cat fur. It was on my bottom shelf and I should have known better. So my cat's got all their fur on there. I gotta take some tape or a lint brush to it, but that's what happens when you have cats. Okay, so that's an eye pin. And I've taken some beads to continue. It doesn't have to be exactly. You can mix and match. It's kind of like a boho thing. So sometimes when you have ideas, you just go with the flow with what you have. I didn't buy all the new supplies. I'm just using what I have. Sometimes it's better to use up the stuff that you have existing. Okay, so I took an eye pin, the one with the loop, and I put one of my shinier beads, and then I had another. I'm believing this might be a 6mm bead, but I'm not really sure. And then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to make a loop. So there it is. And there's 2 of them now, and I'm going to put them over here. So I'm going to do that with all the beads that are similar. And then again, I'm just using my eye pins, the one with the loop. I was going to use a head pin, but when I get into bigger beads, then I'll probably have to use that. It's always good to have these. If you don't, just use some wire. And you can use 14 gauge or, you know, a little higher. The lower the gauge in wires, the thicker the wire. The higher the gauge, the thinner. Okay, so now that I have these 3 beads on there, I'm going to have to, again, make a loop on the other side with my round nose. Okay, so I made a few. I have to make more, but just to get the project started. They're a little different. Some I made with certain things in the middle. You don't all have to make them the same, and some are just with 2. Now, you're going to need chain. Obviously, I'm going to use silver. Okay, so I am going to put that aside. I'm not sure. I used a clear one just in case I want to change it up. So I did that on either side of the chain. But for now, I think what I'm going to do is, so these are going to be like this. And then I'm going to go like this. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to hook them up. I'm not putting them on the chain yet. So I'm going to put all my supplies out of the way. And I'm going to get some 6mm jump rings. So I'm going to get one. Now some of the jump rings can be thicker while some are thinner. I don't even know if you're seeing that. See, they're both 6mm, but it's just different ones. I kind of put them in one pile, so I probably should have kept them separate, but they're all 6mm, so, and you don't really notice it. All right, so I'm going to attach. Okay, so that's what it's going to be like. They're going to look like this. Then I'll put the chain. That's why I have a loop there. Okay, those are going to be on the top part. So now I've attached some. I still have to make more of them, and I'm in the process of doing that. But in the meantime, what I think I'm going to do, because I don't want to waste all my beads and waste time. See how this one has the chain? So you really only see that. And that's the choker part, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a chain that goes around there. And then with this, I'm going to probably do 2 more of these, attach it. Then I'm going to make the lariat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my chain. And I'm going to see how much I actually need. I don't want to cut too short. It's okay if you cut too much because you can always shorten it. But if you cut, sorry, I'm losing my tools here. But if you cut it and, you know, too short, then you're going to have to try to add it. So what I'm going to do is, let's see. I think I'm going to about maybe 8 inches. I think that's good. Then I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to do one for the other side. So just going to get my cutter. If it's a little over, it's not a big deal. And you could either measure it, or you can just match up the next chain so that they're the same length. So that's where it's going to be. Now, if it's too long, that's okay. The only thing I was concerned about it being too short. So before I add more here, I'll get this out of the way. I'm going to get 2 6mm jump rings, and I'm going to attach this. But I also need a clasp. So I'm going to probably use lobster claws. I like them big, especially if you have long nails, it helps because you could really get a grip on those. Okay, so now I'm gonna get myself two 6mm jump rings that they fit through there. I'm just gonna go to the end of my loop that I made, and I'm just gonna, and you hear the click? Always make sure you hear the click because otherwise your jump ring is not shut. Okay. Okay, so now we came to the part where we're going to, so now I come to the part where we have to do something in the center. Now I can use something small or I can use something big. And I have a few things that I might use. Okay. So I was thinking of something like this where I can attach it and then I'll have the lariat part. Okay. That was a thought. Then I got these really, it's really cool. And I made earrings out of it. And it's like a flower. And I can still hook it here. It's an upside down, but it really doesn't matter. And then down there would be the lariat. And I'd have these areas to hook this to. So that is a thought. I'm really still trying to figure it out, whether that's what I want to do. But then I also have a few other things. I have this fairy I was going to attach this to. Love that. But look at this. I can hook this up. Look at that. But you see, then that takes up the whole thing. And then all I would be able to do is that. So that it's not a lariat really, unless you have some more of that. And then I have to probably shorten that. So what I'm going to do is, I love this. This is a possibility. But I think I'm going to use that. Now I attached it, but I put it upside down because normally this would be up here. So now since I got this smaller piece, I'm going to hook that right here. Now I could just hook this there. I'm not really sure if that I'm feeling that or I'm feeling this. So the only way I'm really going to know is if I hook it up and just see for myself, because I can do that all day long, but I may not still like it. So I'm going to, sometimes you just have to try something and then undo it. It's a little extra work. And then I may have to shorten this, being that that's a bigger piece. It's going to make everything go lower, but that's kind of what happens when you're doing crafting. Things don't always turn out the way you thought you wanted it to turn out. You may change your mind midway through, or when you're almost done, or even at the beginning. And voila. So now you're getting the idea. Let me go see what it looks like on, and I will be right back. So here it is. I've got it for you. Let me get my hair out of the way. So it looks better with the different shirt, but this is, I was getting kind of hot, so I needed that. So here it is. I really like the way it came out, and what I like about this is it was simple and easy. It's time consuming just putting these pieces together, but not really. I mean, the thing is, I already had the choker semi-made. It was from an old project I did, an old necklace I made, and I removed the things and altered it a bit, and then I just did the same thing with more beads, changed it up. Look for a centerpiece. I could have used a smaller one, but I prefer to do that because even though there was no hooks on those two sides, it didn't matter. There's openings. And I did these were, I think I made earrings out of them. They're really nice. They're like cutouts, and they're from BB Craft. It's on one of my reviews. If I could find the link for this, I will put it below in the description box. But just use any kind of beads you want, any color combination. I like the black, and I got these like shiny beads. I've had all of these. I didn't The beauty about this is I didn't have to go out and buy supplies. I just used what I already had. And sometimes go through your old jewelry. If you don't wear it anymore, if it's costume jewelry, if you don't use it anymore, alter it, take it apart, create something new. Here's another view of it. And you can see that that's how it looks like with the lariat part hanging. And then you have your centerpiece. So I'm happy with the way it all turned out. It looks exactly like what I envisioned. And it's very easy to make. So you make your choker. And again, you can make your choker 16 inches or a little bit longer. And you can make this even longer if you would like. And that's how it's basically going to sit. So I'm going to put some light. Hopefully it doesn't drown it out. But that's how it's going to look with the light, okay? But I had the light off, so I only had the flash. Now here it is. And I'm going to put some light on. See if that helps. So there it is. So I'm just going to walk it around the room, and I'm also going to show you what it looks like in daylight without any other kind of light. So now I'm bringing it in front of the door, and there it is. I just wanted you to see how it looks. So again, I'll put the link for the centerpieces under there.